in the end, it comes out to Tom James. Good job! Oh, what a goal for Tom James! Oh, that was special!
Welcome to Orient Live. It's another fantastic fixture in League One today. The O's are in red hot form, but it's Bolton Wanderers, the Highflies, who are travelling to E10 today as the O's look to extend their unbeaten winning run to now 5 games and hopefully not concede another goal. I'm Ollie Buck and I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by journalist Brendan Pitcher and Orient champion Joe Widdowson. An exciting one today, Joe, and the first home game of the calendar year as well. It's an exciting one.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. You know, I didn't see the game last weekend, but you know, heard the reports, and you know, by all accounts, it's a really good, strong, solid performance. You know, Portsmouth's such a difficult place to go and get a result, and like the manner that the boys managed to come away with a 3-0 win and a comprehensive one as well, by all accounts. So yeah, just looking forward to it for today and hoping they can replicate the same sort of performance.
But we are in fantastic form, and I mean, a great stat is that the last team to score against us was today's opponents, Bolton, back just before Christmas.
Yeah, it's a night, like, we seem to have really turned our form around since that first 10 minutes against Bolton, where it all seemed to be going very pear-shaped, but we got ourselves back into it in that game, and since then obviously haven't conceded a goal, 4 clean sheets on the bounce, topped off with that win last week against Portsmouth. Seems like a side that is a young side, but now they're growing into League One, they're growing in confidence, and Richie's really getting his team gelling, and there's those final pieces being added where we look like a real force in this league now.
Well, what a statement it would be to get all 3 points against Highflies Bolton Wanderers today. And of course, don't forget, if you're watching along live on YouTube, then international fans, you can watch along with us here on Orient Live, and UK fans, you can pick up an audio pass to listen along as well. You just need to head over to the website on screen now. But before we go any further, it's time to hear from the gaffer, Richie Wellens.
We're unbeaten in our last 3 wins in that time. What's been the key to that run? Is it just those moments, or is what the other things have been key to it as well?
Right, and also going through them moments for young players to develop, they have to go through certain situations. The first 9 minutes away at Bolton was horrific for us. Bad decision after bad decision, leaving gaps for their eights to running through. It was just, but we responded well. And then the young players, or the players who were not that experienced at this level, have grown from that. We didn't shrink, we've grown in that game in terms of the remaining 70, 80 minutes, and then we've took that forward to the last 4 or 5 games and performed really well, and they've contributed to good results.
It's not so long since we played Bolton, as you say. What can we expect from them on Saturday?
For me, there's a lot of different squads in this league. Peterborough have such a young, talented squad, pace, power, excitement, 1v1s. Derby have an experienced squad full of know-how, full of experience. But Derby are a club that have been relegated from the Championship. Peterborough, a club that have been in Championship but relegated from the Championship in recent years. Bolton are a great example of coming up from League 2, which they should never have been in, but slowly developing a squad. And for me, they've got the best squad in the league in terms of that mix. Young players, exciting players, but also experience, good football players. In Santos, they've got one of the outstanding centre-halves in the league. And Dion Charles and the other strikers, they've got goals, they've got movement. For me, along with probably 4 or 5 other teams, they're the best coached team in the league. So, and also they're a big club. Their home attendances say that. So I've got nothing but compliments to say about Bolton. I really enjoy watching them.
Hopefully another positive interview will be coming our way later this evening after Touchwood 3 points. But now let's take a look and see the starting lineup that Richie has opted for as we go in the hunt. For those 3 points, it's just the one change, with Jaden Sweeney coming in for Tom James, who isn't in the squad due to personal reasons. And starting in goal, it's been 4 clean sheets on the bounce and a fantastic penalty save last week against Portsmouth. It's number 1, Solbrin. We have 22, Ethan Galbraith. Wearing the armband is Omar Beckles, and partnering him is Dan Happy. Then, of course, finishing off that back line is Jaden Sweeney. In the midfield, we have Jordan Brown in the Idris El Mazouni, and just in front of them is Max Sanders. And then it's the attacking front three of Shaq Ford, Theo Archibald and Dan Adji. And on the bench for the Oaters, Reece Byrne, Ed Turns, Joe Piggott, Ruel Satiriou, Brandon Cooper, who returns following his permanent deal, joining the club on a 2.5-year deal, George Moncur, and the captain, Darren Prattley. So that's how the O's are lining up as we prepare to face Bolton Wanderers in E10 today. And if it wasn't for personal reasons for Tom James, you'd have expected it would have been an unchanged 11. But Jaden Sweeney coming in today, it's something I guess that backline has to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Our thoughts are goes without saying, with Tom James at the moment with that family bereavement. But a great chance for Jaden Sweeney to come in. Look, he was so good at the back end of that League Two campaign last season. You really thought he was going to kick on. I think a couple of injury problems and kind of maybe the three at the back formation didn't suit him. Now we're back to a 4. I think that natural kind of left back spot suits his game down to a T. He's coming into a settled back 4 with obviously Omar and Happy and Galbraith, who's done really well at right back. So there's lots of leadership in there and experience, and hopefully he can go on and this can be a turning point for his season where he can get more games, because he's a player with so much potential, and obviously being an academy graduate, you want to see him going on and staking his claim for first team places.
How is it as a young left back coming into a defence that has been in such good form, haven't conceded since the 23rd of December? Is there pressure to slot in and make it work, or does it become a little bit easier?
I think it's the perfect circumstances to come into the team. You know, the boys are on a good run, the back four's settled. You know, you got that familiar partnership of Omar and Dan Happy back together. You've got to remember, Jaden Sweeney's been playing with Dan Happy for years and years, so that's a good relationship. Do you know what I mean? That they're both familiar with each other. As Brendan said, I think the key thing for Sweeney today is he's coming back into that left back role rather than a left wing back, where less is expected of him in an offensive sense, and it's a much more natural role for him, that we know he can compete defensively and do his job really well, but then also, you know, in possession he can get forward and contribute. So, you know, I think it's a really good time for him to be coming into the team, and I think the pressure will only be probably from himself in wanting to really stake a claim. You know, he's had odd games here and there this season without really putting together a run, so, you know, hopefully it's a chance for him to you know, have a good game and build his own confidence, and then hopefully have a few more appearances.
We'll come back to the defence shortly, because it has been so good. We could probably talk about it for hours. But let's talk about the goals as well, because it feels like the attack's starting to click as well. The first time in that game against Portsmouth, it was the first time in over a year that we'd scored more than 2 goals in a game. It feels like it's starting to click, and that's coinciding with Dan Adji coming back in and Shaq Ford finding some form as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dan Adji getting back to full fitness and playing in that number 9 role is absolutely key, not just in terms of going forward and what the goals he's brung in the last 2 games. His link-up play is really good. He's a threat in behind. But also, as we've seen, and Richie's spoken about a number of times, to play the number 9 role in this 4-2-3-1 is a little bit different, because we saw last season with Charlie Kelman and Aaron Drinan, they didn't necessarily get all the goals, but Richie was so keen to stress that how important they were in terms of leading the press, linking up the play and doing the defensive job in the first place. And that's why I think the upturn earner form has come, because Richie has found a player that can play that role the way he wants it, and that's it sounds silly because he is the number 9, he's a striker, but I think that has played a role in the clean sheets we've gained as well.
And it's interesting as well, we were talking just before we come on air, that he's playing through the middle, but everyone maybe expects him to play out wide and play as a winger. But if you look at Portsmouth, there was times where we were breaking and he can drift out wide. He must be a nightmare for defenders to try and know what he's going to do, where he's going to be, and just what to predict from him. Yeah,
I think, you know, we're seeing that's one of his big assets, is that he has got that versatility about him. You know, he can play off the left, off the right, down the middle. And I also think, you know, credit to Richie, because Richie, he sees different things and he tries formations and certain tactics that, you know, we don't always expect to come off. You know, like for example, like Shaq playing on the right. You know, he's looked really lively there, and you know, he can pick up the ball and drive inside and get shots off, and he's, you know, powerful, and you know, no one really saw him featuring there. And obviously with Dan Adji as the more what you'd call traditional like wide man. You know, it's interesting that they've swapped roles, but you know, it's obviously working really well. I think Dan Adji gives you that, you know, that real threat in behind. You know, where you can stretch back lines with his pace. Obviously, as Brendan said, he links up well. And he's unpredictable, you know. You're not quite sure what he's going to do, but he carries a real threat up top for us at the moment.
Brendan, last week, we sent you some homework about Shaq Ford's goals to minute ratio. Have you got that for us?
Nope.
Shocking. Anyway, they have been so good, and Dan Adjie's been good, and his goals to minute ratio must be good as well. But going to be a harder test this week than it was last week, do you imagine? It's weird. I think going to Fratton Park away will be a tough test, but this might be even tougher. A
different test for sure. I think Portsmouth, we caught them at quite a good time in terms of they had a few injuries, they've suffered loss of form, they had that weird thing that their fans keep talking about how they always kind of fall away in December and January, and I think that played a part. But Bolton, different formation with the three at the back and the wing back, so it'll be interesting to see how Richie fares up against them, and also play a completely different style to Portsmouth. I think Portsmouth are very direct, get the ball out wide and get balls into the box. I think Bolton are very kind of press high, run in behind, do different things, and this is where Richie will have to devise a different game plan, because you can't play exactly the same how you were going to play last week. But it's a great chance, and I think what plays into it really well in our favour is the fact that Bolton are probably going to be a little bit leggy. They played in midweek on the Wednesday against Luton in the FA Cup, whereas we've had the complete free week on the training ground to devise that game plan. So I think that's definitely a positive in our favour.
We'll take a look at the Bolton team in more detail shortly, but just to touch on, they've got the best defensive record in the league, but Orient are probably, if you're going on form, they're up there with them at the moment, and that's down to, as we've said, that consistency, but also Solbrin's been fantastic in between the sticks, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think, you know, Bolton are a really well-drilled team. You know, the manager, Ian Everton, he's a big, obviously, fan of the three at the back with the wing-back shape. He's been playing that for a number of years, and, you know, just playing against them in the past, they've always been well-drilled, you know, well-coached. Everyone knows their role in the team, and, you know, they like to try and play football. Really high-energy team. They'll get after you, they'll press high, but as Brendan said, they may be a bit leggy after, you know, their exploits in midweek. So I think it's a really interesting fixture. You know, obviously they blew us away in the first 10-15 minutes at their place, and I think, you know, we'll probably might be trying to get on the front foot and do the same, knowing that they've, you know, had a game only a few days ago. So yeah, it'll be a really interesting match-up. I think, you know, there will be times where we'll have to be prepared to suffer without the ball and, you know, sit in and be disciplined. Richie spoke in his interview about, in the previous game, our midfield letting their eights run off us and cause us loads of problems. So I think the midfield will be a key area today to get right.
It certainly will. And let's take a look at some of the action of not just our defending, but Solbrin protecting his goal. And he deserves some credit for that penalty save against Portsmouth. Of course, was big, but he's made some big saves in recent games as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been coming into his own in recent weeks. I don't think he's had necessarily a bad season before that. I think he's been fairly good, but in recent weeks, especially with those clean sheets, the penalty save there, but also probably the main thing I was impressed with against Portsmouth was how he was commanding his area. I think something that perhaps he could have worked on in the earlier parts of the season in terms of the crosses into the box. We've spoken a lot about how we concede a lot of goals from balls into the box, from set pieces, from things like that. I think what he excelled at is things like that, in coming for crosses, being confident, punching away and getting his hands on it. It's the type of thing I'm sure Joe can tell us better than me or you, Ollie. When you're a defender, you want your keeper to come out and claim and be confident from those areas.
I mean, you haven't seen me playing defence, Brendan. You don't know what I'm like. But Brendan's right, isn't he, Joe? If you've got a keeper like that behind you, who you're confident in, come out, claim the ball, it must give them a lot of confidence and calmness.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it relieves a huge amount of pressure, and I think you just feel more solid and you feel safer. You know, when you know that you've got a keeper that's brave enough, you know, to come through a crowd of players and, you know, whether like punch a ball out, take someone's head off, or come and, you know, just really command the area and his box and take crosses and take aerial balls, especially when you're up against, you know, the likes of Portsmouth who can bombard the box and a really powerful direct team. So yeah, you know, it's a massive thing for defenders, but also the whole team. And, you know, if you get your distribution right as well, it's a real attacking weapon, you know, to come through a crowd, claim a ball, and then, you know, get the team up and running on the counter-attack.
Right then, just over 15 minutes to go until kick-off, and it's time now to cast our minds back to 7 days ago, just before the game against Portsmouth, when we had a special fan joining us. He'd made a very long trip all the way from Texas. It's time for Court Robinson, as we got his thoughts ahead of the game to hear about his experience as an international O's fan.
How much soccer do you tend to see at home?
Well, it's called football. I don't know if you know.
but not a lot because nobody really cares about FC back home, but it's starting to gain some traction. It's starting to come up, and I always watch the World Cup. And being from America in the Olympics or things like that, we're used to kind of being on top. It's really nice to have someone we're the underdog for once. We're not the one who's expected to win. And I've been watching World Cup soccer for, I guess, the last 5 World Cups now. It took me about 2 World Cups to realize what offsides actually meant. But once I figured that out, it made more sense. But I wanted to really get into the sport. And once I learned about the relegation and the moving up and down, it really was like, that's kind of, in a weird way, what Texas and America is all about. It's about if you work hard enough and you want it bad enough, you can move and go all the way to the top. That's kind of what we believe. So in a weird way, it's kind of like exactly aligned with our values back home.
And this away end here is completely sold out. You're going to be jam-packed in. Just how much are you looking forward to it?
Well, I'm gonna try and follow along with the chants as best I can, but it sounds like I've influenced a couple chants myself on not flopping, what you guys call it diving. We don't like that back home, and I think I've encouraged a chant or two with some of my offhand remarks. Perhaps you'll hear it, perhaps you won't. I won't repeat it here, but it might gain some traction. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it a lot.
And just lastly, we'll bring in Bill and James, your 2 mates. You can explain what they've got with them as well.
Yeah, well, this is the Lone Star flag. In America, we've got all of our states have flags, and every other state has their flag below the American flag. But in my state, we raised the Lone Star flag above the American flag because we see ourselves as Texans first, which I think is exactly what inspires this club. Your owner, he has that same spirit of like, it's all go and no quit, always, all the time. It's about us first and always us first. And that's the same kind of mentality I think that's attracted me to this club so much.
Fantastic stuff there, Court. Isn't the enthusiasm just electric? And of course, don't forget, if you're an international fan and you want to get more involved with the club and explore opportunities and avenues that you can do as an international fan, then just email media@leightonorient.com. But now, we've got a special deal and a special new product on sale for you, and this one is a beauty. Let's take a look at it now. It's the Retro O's shirt. As you can see on screen, we've released a limited edition shirt priced at just £43.99. The checkered jersey is a replica of our £98.99 home shirt, and they're available in sizes small through to 3XL. And there's a certain Martin Ling there in that middle picture there. He's looking very youthful there, isn't he, Joey?
He is. Good words.
Very, very youthful. But of course, if you want to pick up that product, you can either head into the club store or onto the online shop and pick it up. But now, Bolton have arrived in E10, and they are high flying, of course, with the best defensive record in the league. They've scored 45 goals and only conceded the 24, and they're coming to E10 today on a mission to continue their push for promotion. And let's take a look at how they are lining up for this afternoon's game. In goal, we have Nathan Baxter. We have number 3, Jack Iredale. Number 4, George Thompson. The captain, Ricardo Santos. Number 8, Josh Sheehan. Number 10, Dion Charles. 12, Josh Dakers-Cogley. Number 14, Orient Youth Product is Victor Adeboyejo. Number 18, Owen Toll. Number 22, Carl Dempsey. And finally, number 26, Zach Ashworth. And on the bench for Bolton is Joel Coleman, John Bodverson, Aaron Morley, Paris Magoma, Randall Williams, Cameron Jerome and Luke Mattison. So that's how the away side are lining up for this afternoon's fixture, and we've touched on them briefly, but we don't have to cast our memories far back to know what a good team they are. And I'm sure, as again we've already touched on, the work would have been going on the training pitch to ensure that what happened in the first 10 minutes of the last game doesn't happen again today.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to prevent that fast start that they did. They really pressed us high, forced us into a number of mistakes when we were passing out from the back. So it's about perhaps just being a little bit more cautious in those first 10, 15, just making sure that we're still in the game come that time, because after those 10 minutes, we really reacted well, played excellently, got it back to 3-2 and could have even snatched a draw at the end. So there's proof there of how we can attack them and how we can play against them. You've just got to obviously make sure you're not 3-0 down after 10 minutes again.
When we spoke to Tom James after that Portsmouth victory last Saturday, he said there was discussions, a few murmurs around the dressing room of wanting to avenge that 4-0 defeat earlier in the season. With this being so fresh in the memory, as a player, have you got that in your mind? Are you looking to go out there and kind of put right what went quite horribly wrong in that opening 10 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that will definitely be on the boys' minds, and probably in a part of Richie's team talk. You know, look, boys, a month or so ago, this team absolutely blew us away for the first 15-20 minutes of the game. Let's show them that, you know, that was a one-off and it's not going to happen again today. I think, you know, Bolton are unlike Portsmouth, who are very good at what they do, but probably a little bit one-dimensional. I feel like Bolton have got a number of strengths. You know, they've got good, solid, organised defence. Ricardo Santos, really good, strong ball-playing defender. They've got good width and good pace out wide. Dakas Cogley, I'm a fan of. I think he was at Tranmere last season. We were quite impressed watching him, I remember. And then up front, Dion Charles and Adebayo, they've got a lot of power there, a lot of pace, really mobile up top. And Josh Ian, I think probably is one of the best midfielders in the league, really comfortable on the ball. He'll be trying to knit it all together, and really tidy player. So they've got a lot of different strengths throughout the team. So look, I think we're in fantastic form. Been really good since that Bolton game away. So it'll be a good chance to just show how far we've come in that short space of time since we played them last time.
You've mentioned Dion Charles there. Let's take a look at some of the kind of goals he scores, because as you've said, they may be a little bit more two-dimensional than Portsmouth were. Do you think we're going to, as a defence, be asked a lot more questions than maybe Charlton, Wickham, Cambridge and even Portsmouth did? Yeah,
this is 100% for me our biggest test since obviously when we last played Bolton. I think if I was going to pick one of the top sides at the minute, I'd probably have Bolton as the one I'm most sure on in terms of getting promoted, and Dion Charles plays a huge role in that. I think he's an excellent striker. He's got 16 goals so far this season, and like Joey said, Portsmouth were a bit one-dimensional, a bit predictable. Colby Bishop for Portsmouth, we marked him out the game very well, but he only really does one thing. He gets in the box, he scores headers. I think Dion Charles is much like his side Bolton, very more tools to his arsenal in terms of the fact that he can win headers, but he can also get in the box, he can run in behind, he can nick the ball off you. He's very good at pressing from the front, as we saw there, and when he gets those chances, his finishing is very good. He's a Northern Ireland international, and when he combines up top with Adebayo, they're both two physical, quick, strong players who are good at finishing, and that's always going to be a threat.
You mentioned nicking the ball off of the defender, and you think back to that game, Joe, and probably all three of the goals were avoidable in a sense of maybe the defence were caught sleeping a little bit in the first 10 minutes. They did pounce on our mistakes. How important is it with the quality that they've got to ensure that we're at 100% concentration, 100% focus, and just on it from the first whistle?
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly there. We all need to be on it. We all need to be focused, concentrate, but also perhaps maybe take less risks early on in the game. Not invite that press. It might be that we look a bit more direct early on. We might look to play ball down the sides and get Bolton turned and facing their own goal, and just kind of play for territory a little bit rather than inviting them on, because we know that they will press. They will try and close us down with intent, and they will get after us. So perhaps there might be lessons learnt there from the previous game.
It's an interesting one. We've already touched on Ian Evatt and the style of football he plays, but he's done quite well with them since joining in 2020. What are you expecting from him today in this sense?
Richie spoke about it quite well in terms of Bolton, probably definitely a bigger club than us, but it's one where we can emulate in terms of the fact that Ian Evatt came in, got them out of League Two, and they could have quite easily been like, we need to push on now, let's get to the Championship because of the size of the club. But they've built up steadily, they've given Ian Evatt time, and now he's got a squad here that are very, very good for League One level, play the style of football that Ian Evatt wants to a T, know exactly what to do, very strong in defence, very physical, very good at pressing, very comfortable in the ball, just an all-round threat, and one that I expect is going to give us a real tough test today.
Now, I might be making up a stat here, but Bolton are of course up near the top of the table, but whenever we've played a team top or around that position, I'm not sure we've ever lost. You look when we, early in the season when Cambridge and Exeter were top, dusted them away, Portsmouth last week. Do you think we almost seem to thrive against a challenge like this? And as Court was saying, we're the underdogs a little bit here, aren't we?
Yeah. First of all, I hope you're not jinxing us, Al. But no, I do think you're right. I think the bigger teams, the stronger sides in the league, especially the bigger clubs at home also, we do seem to really raise our level, and it's almost like we want to show that we are capable of competing with these teams. I think back to the likes of Barnsley, Wigan at home. They stand out in the mind as really good, strong performances. Not always managed to win, but really kind of gone toe to toe with these teams, and I think it'll be a case of the same. Look, we're in great form, let's just go and have it out with Bolton.
And you brought up Barnsley, Wigan, Derby comes to mind as well. Only a couple months ago, but it feels like since then we've become a little bit more know-how in defending our box, attacking the opposition's box. Today's a really good. Obviously, Portsmouth last week was a good mark of how far we've come, but today you feel it's even bigger test and a better way to mark how far we've come. Yeah,
for sure. And I think Brendan said it at the start of the show. He said, look, we're a team that's maturing. We're a young team with very little League One experience at the start of the year. Richie also said it. Sometimes you have to go through those games where you suffer and you make bad decisions, but you learn from those. And we are a team that is definitely learning, definitely on an upward trajectory, and really sort of establishing ourselves and looking comfortable in the league at the moment.
Well, 5 minutes to go until kick-off, and excitement is building here in E10, and the players are very nearly making their way out onto the pitch at the Gaughan Group Stadium. But let's remind ourselves of how the O's are lining up for this fixture against Bolton Wanderers. In goal, looking to keep a 5th consecutive clean sheet, it's Sol Bryn. Our back four today of Ethan Galbraith, the captain Omar Beckles, Dan Happy partnering him, and then slotting in at left back for Tom James is Jaden Sweeney. In the midfield we have Jordan Brown, Idris El Mazouni, and then just in front of him is Max Sanders. And then a front three of Shaq Ford, Theo Archibald, and leading the line is Dan Adji. And on the bench for the O's is Reece Byrne, Ed Turns, Joe Piggott, Roel Sotiriou, Brandon Cooper, George Von Kurt, and Darren Pratley. Now, one player that we said last week before the game has maybe gone under the radar, and perhaps gone under the radar again, how good he was last week, is Max Sanders. His assist for the first goal for Shaq Ford was a perfect pass, and we want to see more of that from him, don't we? Yeah, and I think I spoke about Dan Adji suiting the system really well. I think Max Sanders in that number 10 role really suits the system in terms of his energy, his pressing, but then also his quality on the ball. That assist for Shaq Ford against Portsmouth was one of my favourite assists of the season, quite comfortably. It was a perfectly weighted pass and shows what he's capable of. I think again today against tough opposition, that midfield battle is going to be really strong. Three of our players are all really young, energetic, really good on the ball, as are Bolton. So it's going to be a hotly contested battle in there, but another opportunity for Max Sanders to show what he can do. We'll see both sets of teams in the tunnel getting ready. There was they're not smiling anymore. I don't know if that's because the Orient players have arrived, but there was some smile, there was some laugh from the away side. They're obviously going to be full of confidence, but so are we. This is going to be a great battle, hopefully. Yeah, look, they're one of the powerhouses of the division. They've had a good season up until now. They'll be relaxed, they'll be confident. They've just gone toe to toe with a Premier League side in midweek and given a really good account of themselves. So they'll come here with a certain swagger about them. But, listen, we're in good form as well, as we've spoken about, and we'll really be relishing the challenge today. Well, kick-off is very nearly upon us, and both sets of teams are ready and waiting to make their way out onto the pitch here in E10. So let's hand over to our match commentary team of Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock.
To Brisbane Road, and I think we have to start by saying well done to Colin James and his team for their hard work. This game goes ahead. I was looking at those enormous frost covers when I arrived. They were being taken off the pitch. They are so heavy, and the team have worked hard, and the game goes ahead, and the pitch is looking good, isn't it?
Yeah, I won't give it too much credit, Dave. I expected it to. It's been obviously cold couple of days in London, but when you're looking around, I think there's 3 fixtures that may have succumbed in League One, but it was a huge investment into the surface, of course, the start of the season, and obviously that would have helped conditions, I'm sure. But yeah, delighted to have the game on and delighted to be here. It should be an interesting one.
The O's make one change, and our thoughts are with Tom James, gone compassionately following the passing of his father, and it's a big afternoon afternoon for Jaden Sweeney.
Well, it is a huge afternoon for him because he gets an opportunity, as you say, express our thoughts with Tom James at this difficult time, that Jaden Sweeney was looking before kick-off when I saw his name on the team sheet. 28th of November, the last time he was involved in a competitive fixture. That was as a substitute at Bristol Rovers at the Memorial. So he's almost had to wait 2 months, and that is a long time to be without football. And he's going in really into an environment and a team that are banging for him, and they will look to get at him early on. It's a big afternoon for him.
Big afternoon as well for the mascots. Charlie, Teddy and Alison, as well as Timothy, have been joined by Isabella and Louis, and their uncle is done a job.
Wow, it's hopefully going to be a family celebration at full time, isn't it? Because Anajai, of course, got his name on the score sheet last weekend at Portsmouth. What an afternoon that was. And he'll be looking to repeat that again this afternoon against the mighty Bolton Wanderers.
Absolutely. Their game, of course, was abandoned last weekend because of a medical emergency in the crowd. You know, that's all about the impact that has on a club because of the passing of Derek Reynolds. The game has been rescheduled for next Tuesday. They face Carlisle away next Saturday. It's a big week for a side that now can focus on promotion, having had that excellent FA Cup against Luton.
Yeah, nice touch as well from the former Bolton skipper, current O's skipper Darren Prattley, who's on the bench this afternoon, who took a brisk jog over to the Bolton Wanderers supporters on that far side and laid a